Hey guys, welcome back to Sessions and welcome to Portugal. So this week we're on a mission. We're here filming for our kiteboarding travel guide destinations, and as well I've got the Mystic Majestic X harness and I'm just testing that for next week's Versus video where we're going to do a comparison of the ride engine lineup versus the Mystic lineup. And on top of just exploring the locations and collecting intel on this spot, it seemed like the perfect place to progress. So I've got a goal to just get a trick on lock that I don't quite have consistent yet, and that is the back to blind. So my aim is just to get that unlocked. I'm also here with Kristen Cooper, or Coop as a lot of people like to call her, and she's just starting to unhook. So her goal for the trip is to learn how to do an unhooked rally. And then as far as linking up with riders for sessions, we've got a couple of leads here, some friends of friends, but nothing concrete. So we'll find out what happens. Let's get to it. Hey, good morning guys. So it's day 2 here in Portugal and we're just getting settled in here. We just woke up and we're gonna go get some coffee right now. So we're gonna check out some of the lagoons here, check out some more of the city, just try to get a session in. So part of producing destinations is just getting first-hand experience staying in the location to see what it'd be like traveling through as a kiteboarder and exploring the spot. So first up on our list was Lisbon. Now obviously Portugal is known as a wave spot, but there are some pretty cool lagoons here. So one of the first locations we decided to check out was the Lagoa do Albufeira.
Yo, what's up? So we're at Lagoa de Albufeira, and the wind's just starting to pick up here.
And this is just a perfect little lagoon in a park where most of the locals will flock on the weekends, so it can get a bit hectic. But during the weekdays, for the most part, you can get the lagoon to yourself, aside from maybe a couple of other kiteboarders. And we definitely timed this one just right. Typically around late May, they start dredging out the lagoons and they'll actually drain into the ocean, so they're a bit more shallow. But while we were there, it was perfectly flat slicks, plenty of water and plenty of room. And you do want to come a bit earlier, we found. It gets a bit more shallow and a bit more crowded as it warms up and as the tourist season picks up. So definitely the springtime is the right time to come here. Now on the right wind direction, this lagoon is pretty much everything you could ask for. Shallow water, smooth winds, great for progression. So the water is, you know, not too shallow, not too deep. If you crash, for the most part, you can stand up in most places. Great if you're a freestyler, great for beginner riders. And we really got lucky. It was windy for 3 days in a row while we were here. It was pretty much near perfect wind. On the 3rd day, however, it did clock around and it started to get a bit gusty and a little hectic. And on top of that, the lagoon was starting to get crowded. So we decided to head north and check out the Lagoa do Albufeira.
We're in the lagoon. It's pretty much everything that you can hope for out of a kiteboarding spot. I'm so stoked right now. So we just got done riding here, and I think we're gonna head back and get something to eat. You hungry? Yeah, we're hungry. So the wind's getting pretty light, just barely enough to ride right now, but oh man, what a good day.
Hey, good morning guys. So we're just heading out of here from Setúbal, Portugal, and the last few days we've been riding the Lagoa do Albufeira, which isn't too far from here, but we were checking the wind this morning and it looks like conditions have shifted on us. So we're gonna head north to the Lagoa de Albufeira, and yeah, you can kind of see outside right now that it's not too... So you can see that conditions aren't too amazing today. The trees aren't even blowing. But Kristen and I were checking out the conditions here. Hey Kristen. Hey. We're checking out the conditions and Albufeira is looking better. So my game plan is just to get some time in on the Mystic Majestic X harness. Put a lot of time in with the ride engines and we're just ready to log some hours in on that. And then Kristen here, she started landing her unhooked rallies in Albufeira. So the game plan is to try to get that on lock up north in Albufeira. So we'll see you there. Admittedly, after riding the Lagoa do Albufeira, I really didn't think anything could top it, but I have to say that Albufeira is hands down my favorite lagoon in Portugal.
Hey, so it's like day 5 here, and it's been 5 for 5 for us. We've rode every single day since we got here, and this place is just incredible. I mean, look at that scenery.
Easy parking, plenty of restaurants just dotting along the road there. Very accessible, easy to find. Just from a videographer standpoint, the buildings and the cliffs that dot this lagoon, this place is perfect for shooting. Now admittedly, the last few years my main focus has been on video and not as much about my progression with my kiteboarding. But I am looking to change that this year and put the time in. And the funny thing about progression is you really have to pay your dues. It's just a lot of failure after failure until you finally figure it out, you finally get the trick dialed. And you know, there's a lot of parallels to like skateboarding, same thing. You know, mostly crash after crash until you land it. But I figure, you know, I'm doing this video log, but why not make it an open book? So I thought maybe kind of a fun thing we could do with this series is I'll start sharing my progressions with you, work you guys through these tricks as I'm learning them myself. And we've been doing Ride with Blake for quite a while, so I feel like I've got a pretty good gauge on you know, how to share tips and tricks with you guys. So for all you entry-level freestylers out there, that might be kind of a fun concept, just to work through these tricks together, let you know my failures, my successes, what I figured out along the way. And we'll just make that a part of the series. So as I progress this year, as I learn, we'll share that with you and share the tips and tricks as I get these freestyle tricks on lock. Yo guys, so we're back here at the Lagoa de Albufeira, and the wind's just a little bit light, maybe too light for me, but for Kristen here, she's quite a bit smaller as you can see. She's gonna give it a go on the 14-meter FX, and I think she's ready just to get this rally on lock, and we're gonna try to get it on film for you, the full trick. So I'm gonna put her up, and man, fingers crossed the wind picks up and hopefully I can get out here and get a session too. Yeah. Got this. Well, I think that's a wrap. The wind kind of shut off on her, but regardless, she's got the basics down. She's on hooking, she's doing her rally, so well done. Yeah. So I think we're gonna head back to the house, cook some dinner. We're gonna go through the footage and just kind of help her improve her rally, and then I'm gonna teach you guys how to do that back to blind. We'll see you there. Hey guys, so we're back here at the apartment, and Kristen and I just got finished with dinner. We were going through the footage to check out her rally and her progression. And before we dive into how to do the back to blind, you know, like every video I do, there's got to be something in it for you. So I wanted to give you guys my tools of the trade. We didn't link up with anybody on this trip, so rather than chat about the gear that another rider's using, we're going to go through my quiver. So if you click that eye icon in the upper right hand corner of your screen, you can see all the different gear that I've used for the year. And one of the nice things about working in a kite shop is I get to test all the gear. So rather than have a favorite kite, I actually have a favorite category of kite, and that is the crossover freestyle kites. And these are just perfect for, you know, entry level to intermediate, even advanced freestylers, and people who are a little more interested in unhooking or kite loops, or just kites that are a little bit more fun to fly. So I'm going to do a write-up on my 3 favorite kites. I mentioned earlier in the video that I thought it would be kind of fun to run through some tricks as I'm learning them with you guys and teach them to you. So on this trip I had the goal of learning the back to blind, and after 6 days of riding I definitely have it on lock. And I think it's kind of a unique spin to just take that beginner standpoint on a trick and you know, run through all the different things and the problems that I encountered while I was learning it and the things that I figured out. So the first step to landing a back to blind is getting the basics mastered first. So before you go into this trick, you really want to be comfortable landing rally to blind consistently, and you want to have your back rolls dialed. And it's the rally to blind, it's kind of like what the kickflip is to skateboarding. It's just that keystone trick where once you have it, you kind of unlock a ton of other tricks. So it's really important just to be incredibly confident doing this trick before you even think about attempting the back to blind. So what conditions are best for learning this trick? Well, I would say there's 3 things that you're looking for, and that would be riding in lighter wind, on a larger kite, and preferably a freestyle kite. So lighter wind because it's much easier on the body and you can really push it while you're progressing. I recommend a larger kite because they're slower, less reactive, and when you're landing blind, it's actually a lot easier to have a slower kite behind you while you get the rotation around and get everything figured out. And lastly, I recommend learning on a freestyle kite, and a lot of you already know this, but that's because they have more pop and then they slack. So when you're landing blind, it makes it just a little bit easier. You're less likely to kind of get your shoulder tweaked when you're landing, and they're just a little more fun. My first insight into learning this trick is get used to landing your back rolls with good height and moderate power. And it's kind of one of the funny things that I figured out about this trick is sometimes it feels more comfortable to go into it doing a smaller back roll, and that's a great way to get hurt. So to start this trick off, you want to go into it with moderate speed, let off your edge to unhook, and then lean way back and start edging upwind. And you should start feeling the tension load up in your lines. Something else to consider while doing this trick is your body posture, and this is often overlooked with load and pop tricks, but you really want to have almost like you're sitting in a chair with a really good posture. So it's like a straight line, a strong connection from your board to your knees, to your hips, to your shoulders. So if you're bending over at the hips like a hinge, you're actually going to choke a lot of power out of this trick. So you really need to keep your back straight and keep your hips locked while you're loading up those lines. And then moving along, as you start your upwind edge, you really just want to feel that power load up in the lines, and this is really critical to the trick to getting the height that you need and the pop that you need to complete the rotation. So when it comes to loading the lines, you're going to lean back progressively, edging upwind until you almost feel like you just can't hold it down anymore. And a lot of people will actually give up just probably a moment too early before they have enough tension in their lines. But if you really hold that down and then sharply carve away at the last moment, you're gonna get the pop that you need to complete the trick. You really want to lean way back, keep your hips locked, and you want to carve away, look over your back shoulder, throw your legs and hips away from the kite. This is the part where personal style comes into play. So the closer you tuck your knees into your body, the faster you're gonna rotate. And as well, how you flip. So you'll notice a lot of people when doing this trick, they'll actually bring their legs above their head and invert. However, when learning the trick, I actually recommend that you do something more like an off-axis 3 with your legs, you know, in a half tuck. So you're not spinning super fast, but you're not spinning too slow. Now here's the crux of the trick. So about 3/4 of the way through your rotation, a few things need to happen consecutively. So you're gonna pull the bar hard to your original leading hip, look over your opposite shoulder to stop the rotation, and you'll start to drop out of the sky. Here's where you need to commit. Earlier I mentioned that you want to get your rally to blind dial, and here's why. This part is going to feel just like a rally to blind. So you let go with your back hand and start to dive the kite just a little bit lower with the hand that's still on the bar. Now the trick to landing blind that I figured out a while back is keeping the kite low and landing flat downwind. It seems more intimidating at first, but it's actually way easier. Although admittedly, the lower you go with the kite, it does take a bit more core strength. So my advice is to keep the kite a bit higher at first, but flick it down while you're pulling the bar to your lead hip. And what this will do is give you the height that you need to complete the rotation and the space you need to come around blind, but flicking it down will help you pass that bar when you're landing blind. And another huge mistake that I made many times when learning this trick was not landing downwind enough. And a lot of times when learning to land blind, people will land on an edge, or they want to continue the same direction of travel they were going when they originally initiated the trick. And kind of one of the weird things about kiteboarding tricks is, unlike snowboarding, you're not necessarily going in a straight line. You have your tack, you ride downwind, you edge back upwind somewhat in the direction that you were already riding, and then you land going towards the kite. And that's one of the weirdest concepts to wrap your head around, especially if you're coming from other board sports. And also just be mindful of the bar while you're rotating. A common mistake is people like to throw their back rolls with their arms kind of in front of them. You really need to keep that bar close to your hips, so almost imagine that you're still hooked in. Keeping that bar really close to your center of gravity is gonna make this trick way easier. So as you stop that rotation and you look over your back shoulder, you start to drop out of the sky, you commit to the backside 180, and you really want to look over that shoulder and spot your landing and bring that bar to the small of your back. And this is why you wanted to keep that bar close to your hips when you did the rotation. This is why you had that hard pull before you dropped out of the sky to keep that bar close. And you just want to twist your back arm down and around and bring that bar into the small of your back. Almost like you're trying to hit the small of your back with your back hand. And then just really commit to landing that trick more downwind with a flat board. Do not try to land on an edge. And if you need to build confidence in this trick, you can complete the back roll, initiate the blind rotation, and you can actually let go of the bar a couple times, but I'm a little leery on this step, and the reason being is when you do something, you create a habit. It's very easy to create the habit of letting go of the control bar when you're going into this trick, and you don't want to let that happen. But, you know, for your first 2 or 3 times trying this, yeah, give it a go. Try the trick and then just let go of the bar. And sometimes I still do if I feel like I'm a bit overpowered, or if a strong gust comes through and I know I'm just going to get really worked on the trick, then I will just let go of the bar and really focus on my landing. So really the funny thing about this trick is safety comes with getting enough height and commitment, and it's when you don't commit to this trick that you're going to get worked. It's when you try to land on an edge. It's when you don't complete the full rotation. So the safety in this trick really comes in focusing on getting that landing. Now with all that said, there does come a point in this trick where you just have to commit and you just have to hold on to that bar. Alright guys, there you have it. There's my unique perspective on learning the back to blind in the last 6 days here. And we've got one more potential day of wind in the forecast, so fingers crossed that I'll get one last session in here and maybe a little bit more footage. And tomorrow we're heading back to Lisbon, and from there it's back to the shop and back to the grind. So it's getting pretty late here, and I think I'm gonna call it an evening and go to bed. So we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Well, that's a wrap, guys. We're just heading home here from Portugal, and it's been a good week. You know, we got to explore the lagoons, Albufeira, Óbidos. We checked out the Algarve. I was able to land that back to blind and write my versus video. She did finally get a rally on lock. So we're just making our way to the airport now. And we've got a little journey ahead of us, ready to get back to Michigan. And it looks like it's gonna be windy when we get home. So pretty excited to get on the water there for the weekend. We'll see you guys next time.